Historical Society on BC-TV is supported in part by the Highlands at Wyomissing.
Hello and welcome to the monthly program of the Historical Society of Berks County. I'm your host, George M. Miser IX, President of the Historical Society of Berks County and publisher of the Historical Review of Berks County, the Society's quarterly magazine in print since October of 1935. Not incidentally, most back issues of the Historical Review are available at the Society from the 1930s to the present time. It should be noted that this program is telecast live on the first Wednesday of each month at 7. It repeats this Friday night at 10, Saturday at 6, and Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Welcome all to the June 4th, 2008 program. Seated beside me is today's co-host, Joshua Blay, Associate Director and Curator of the Historical Society of Berks County.
Good evening, George.
Good evening. Beside Joshua is Amy Walt Johnson, the City of Reading's Historical Preservation Specialist.
Good evening.
And a dues-paying member of the Historical Society of Berks County. Joshua?
The Society's Museum, Library, Gift Shop, and Exhibition Hall are open Tuesday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. The shop is fully stocked with Reading and Berks histories by a wide variety of present-day and old-time authors. A number of unusual pottery pieces by Lester Branninger and other local potterers are now in stock. Remember, the Historical Society's gift shop has a large inventory of Reading and Berks County histories, new and pre-owned.
We remind viewers that for $30 a year, you can be one of us, a member of the Historical Society of Berks County. Membership in the Society includes our prize-winning quarterly magazine, the Historical Review of Berks County. Membership includes unlimited use of the museum and library. Incidentally, family memberships, all living in the same house, are $40 a year. Joshua?
And while we're on the subject of memberships, we remind you that Berks Community TV, BC-TV, now observing its 31st anniversary, is a survivor in a tough venue and a unique entity in that it's interactive. You are encouraged to call with your comments and questions.
The phone number, by the way, is 378-0426. Why not salute BC-TV for all the great shows it provides to Reading and Berks and send a check for $30 for a year's membership. Mail your check to BC-TV, 645 Penn Street, Reading 19601. Remember, time passes, but operating expenses never go away.
This coming Saturday, June 7th, is our June 1st Saturday program for the season. It's actually going to be our last program because we take a summer recess in July and August. Doors open at 9:30 a.m. for light refreshments. The program begins at 10 a.m. and concludes by 11 or a little thereafter. The topic for this Saturday morning is the art and architecture of Berks County rifles and powder horns of the Golden Age, 1776 to 1825. Our guest speaker will be Richard Francis. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce his last name. Let me just spell it. Hujsa. Our presenter, he's a native of Pennsylvania, and he purchased his first Pennsylvania-Kentucky rifle in 1948. Since that time, he has studied and built rifles from all schools of gun makers and has earned a reputation among his peers as an expert judge and the builder of superior quality reproduction flintlock and percussion rifles. There's a $1 fee for Society members, $2 for non-members to cover the cost of refreshments. The program is open to anyone interested. Come and bring a friend to the final first Saturday program of the season. Programs will resume in September. And also, please be aware that this Saturday, due to ongoing renovations at our Henry Johnson Library, which will be opening this year, the parking lot will be closed this Saturday. But there should be ample parking around the Society and up along Center Avenue and on the side streets.
Also this coming Saturday, June the 7th, right after the first Saturday program, is an open house at Hendel House from 11 to 3. Free tours are available, and the inimitable Bob Moyer will conduct a seance. Need more specific information? Call the Historical Society and ask for Gloria. Hendel House is directly opposite Center Park at 746 Center Avenue at Douglas Street.
The annual Center Park Garden Tour, you might have heard Mike Lauder or somebody else from Center Park speak on it on this program or this channel. The annual Center Park Garden Tour takes place on Saturday, June 21st, between the hours of 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Tickets will only be available at a booth in Center Park, which is right along Center Avenue, right across from our Handel Mansion at 746 Center Avenue. Tickets are $10 for adults and $5 for children. 9 properties will be open for inspection. Lectures and seminars will be held, just as always, in the Handel House throughout the day by experts in their respective fields. Talks run approximately 1 hour, and there'll be a schedule available at the Center Park informational booth in Center Park. Food and refreshments of various types will be available in Center Park, and the rain date is June 22nd. So the tour itself is on June 21st, Saturday, and the rain date is the day after, same time, same place.
The Society's quarterly magazine, and I believe we have something back there for the graphics camera, the Historical Review of Berks County, in print since October of 1935, will be sporting something in a new look, which will be immediately evident. The change enhances its beauty considerably. Here is the cover of that issue, due out very shortly. Very handsome. The cover art illustrates the fact that in the 18th and 19th centuries, there were Berks homes, barns, and numerous outbuildings that had rye thatched roofs. People always say thatched roofs in Berks County. The answer is yes, thatched roofs in Berks County. A 10 by 20 shed near Summer Hill in New Schaefferstown, which is just beyond Burnville, was photographed around 1910 by W.W. Dietrich, and it shows that most of its 19th century thatched roofing remained in place. I should have brought that photograph along. I thought about it a little bit later. But Dick Shaner, one of the trustees at the Historical Society, wrote this article on rye thatching in Berks. When you think that some barns were entirely rye thatched, that gives one cause for pause. By the way, down below there's a list of some of the articles that are going to be in the Historical Review that will probably, have you heard anything, Joshua, in about a week or so?
I believe so, yes.
In about a week or so, the magazine will be coming out. The Historical Review is mailed out 4 times a year to members of the Historical Society of Berks County as a benefit of membership. And there are some of the articles that will be in the forthcoming issue. I can't read that, Josh. I don't know whether you can or not. Kimmy, can you read it?
I sure can. Inside this issue, rye thatching roofs, which George just spoke of, the restoration of Stoll's Georgian Townhouse, Forest Hills Memorial Park.
That's by Sandy Steve. That's going to be a very good article. She worked for that over a year.
Scouting and camping in the Depression years, and Berks County African Americans in the Civil War. Looking forward to that article very much as a Civil War buff myself.
That'll be a very good article. Okay, the Historical Review of Berks County, the summer issue, coming out probably within a week to 10 days. Members of the Society will be getting their copy. Individual copies are available at the gift shop at the Historical Society at $7, mailed out for $10.
There's always a selection of older issues available for $6 previous to the year 2000. We have many very popular issues. A lot of them do sell out, but we have a lot of issues available. So if you do something, see something you like, we do have many issues available in the gift shop. And
all the issues can be seen in the Society's library. There are bound issues back to October of 1935.
And one of the great things with the Historical Review, we have an index online for the magazines, which are very accessible on our website, www.berkshistory.org. And while we're talking about very, very handy indexes, you're going to love this. There's a work in progress that should prove very much interest to regular viewers of the program and to really anybody else that are followers of the Passing Scene series. Right now, there's a comprehensive index to the Passing Scene books, volumes 1 to 15. There was a published index, I believe, George, 1 to 10, but this is going to be 1 to 15. I guess we'll have to work on 16 coming up this fall. Doug Reiner, our Society's computer whiz, who helps us a lot with our website, does a lot of wonderful work for us, is the person hard at work compiling the master index to all 15 volumes of the Passing Scene. Right now in the paper index for the volume 10, that's pretty comprehensive for the first 10 volumes. Then you have to look at the next 5 individually.
I think that's sold out, though, isn't it?
I believe so. But the master index will become part of our website, just like the historical review index, and may be consulted at will 24/7 as long as you have access to the internet. This endeavor, it's going to take a lot of time, as you could imagine. I forget how many total pages, but some volumes have over 4,000 entries, so we do appreciate your patience. Incidentally, some of the passing scenes, volume 13 and 15, remain in stock. When these are sold out, there will be no reprints. He who hesitates.
Yes. At this juncture, we're going to take a break from some of the announcements for some pictures, and feel free to hop in there, Amy and Joshua, as we go along.
Thank you.
If we may start the slides, please. We just take a second. By the way, the fellow who's coming for the first Saturday program, this coming Saturday, I believe is bringing some guns with him.
Yes, he is. He's going to have a table of displays at the front of the room.
That should be very interesting. Those have become very, very collectible.
Yes, they have.
Oh, sorry about that. Oops, okay, let's go back a little bit. Now, I'm sure many people will recognize that instantly because it's such a popular site. What we're seeing there is the entrance to Crystal Cave. Entrance to Crystal Cave. Mr. Merkel, back in the 1870s, was doing some blasting. You know, years ago, they used to burn limestone to make lime, to put on the fields to sweeten the soil and to deal with the pH factor of the soil itself. They were doing some blasting, and lo and behold, they opened this cavern, and it drew headlines in the Allentown and the Reading newspapers. People flocked to Virginville and then took a wagon out to Crystal Cave. Actually, you can walk from Virginville, from the old hotel on the corner, over to the cave. And on second thought, that would be a pretty good walk, now that I'm thinking about that. It'd be closer to Dragon Cave. Anyhow, that's Crystal Cave. Crystal Cave, as you know, is open to the public, and it is visited by many, many people, and has been since about 1871. There's a cute story. Mr. Merkel was sitting on that stone. Initially, people just came and they went through the cave, and they were absolutely fascinated. And the story was told that on a hot day in summer, he was sitting on that stone and took off his hat, took out his handkerchief to wipe his brow, had his hat lying on the ground. Someone came out of the cave, thanked him, and dropped money in the hat. The people who followed thereafter did likewise, and Mr. Merkel realized he had a good thing going, and they've been passing the hat ever since. That is Crystal Cave. Now, most of us know that as time went on, they added a fancy entranceway, and it is much more visitor-friendly than it had been initially. A number of those caves in that proximity are thought to communicate. I remember there was something done years ago with smoke, and the fanning smoke and to see where it would come out, and they discovered that about 3 of those caves do communicate in some way. I'm not saying that you can crawl from one to the other, but they do communicate to some degree. Okay, did we start at number 17, I'm wondering? The reason I ask is that we're pretty far ahead of 17, but that's okay, we'll play it by ear. We're looking at a very rare view. Today, this would be under the Lindbergh Viaduct at Allenbach Cemetery. That is a rare view of Gravity Station. The Gravity, of course, ran from 1889, 1890 up to the nasty fire at the tower in 1923. If you go under the Lindbergh Viaduct and you look for a large cement slab, which I presume is still there because it was there several years back when I was there, And that slab is where the people stood to get on the gravity cars. They got on the gravity cars. It was about 1.5 miles up the hill, and originally it was this operated by steam, up the hill to the summit level where the tower was, the old tower was, and where the present tower is, the William Penn Memorial Tower. And they would let the cars loose. They'd give them a good push, and the cars would go down and around the mountain about a 6.5-mile run to the point of beginning. A dear friend of mine, now deceased, perhaps almost 10 years, Chester Godshall and I walked that line, and it's surprising how much was in evidence about 25 years ago. You can still see some of those safety arrangements that they had, and you can see the foundation of a building where they kept the engine from time to time. So that is the gravity station, the rear. To give you an idea of approximately where that was, if you were to back down the mountain from what you see there on the left-hand side, you would wind up at the East End Club, or near the East End Club, down in Mineral Spring Park. Gravity station, the Gravity Railroad, 1890 to 1923. Aha. There we have two gravity cars, and we can see that we have the steam engine, which tells us that we're on the way up. The cars started at Gravity Station. They went up through the Glen to, let me see, up to, help me, Amy, the park, Eggleman's Park.
Yes.
Straight from Eggleman's Park up the hill, past Keydashes, to the summit level. At that point, they disengaged the engine, and it went down on a parallel track back to the point of beginning. Josh, you want to tell them why it went back to the point of beginning? Because of that boiler arrangement.
The boiler arrangement, although I'm not sure if that engine is done, some of the inclined railways, the boilers would be slanted. The locomotive was on the hill often, because
that was the Shea engine. That was the William Penn.
You have to maintain a level water. You have to maintain a level water in the boiler, otherwise the boiler might explode, which is something you not want to happen. But it's interesting too, because a lot of mountain railways, cog railways, there's one in New Hampshire I've been on, they actually push the cars up instead of pull the cars up. That way, it's for safety reasons. Obviously, if you can tell this arrangement, if you're going up the hill and one of those cars breaks loose, it's pretty obvious what's going to happen. It's a lot of steam mountain railways that push the cars up. That way, just in case something happens, the cars won't run away from them. So I'm sort of.
Do you see that?
Yeah, you can see the Shea.
Yeah, you see it's double track. Do you see that?
Yeah, it's double track. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's a rather rare view. Gravity engines, gravity cars. Those were dummy cars, which is why when they got to the top, they would move the engine ahead and then take it back down to the hill to the point of beginning, 1.5 miles, and they would give the cars a good push.
That Shea locomotive there was actually built for logging railroads, so they had a very steep, twisting track. The Road Museum down in Strasburg, Pennsylvania, has an example of a Shea locomotive, but not that particular one.
There were two of them. They had two engines early on.
I wonder what happened to them.
Well, one of them did. I have that information in one of the articles back around volume 1 or 2 of The Passing Scene. There's a story on the gravity. Anyhow, okay, see that's double track there at the turn.
That's called a check rail.
Yeah.
A guide rail to hold the cars in case they derail.
In case they derail, we'll keep it on. That's South Curve. In other words, that would be coming up. It would be coming up the hill, and there is the old Schwartz's Summit House Hotel, or the Tower Hotel. It came in on the south side. That's why they, as a matter of fact, about 30 years ago, there was a fellow up there in that general area, which is really overgrown today, with the metal detector, and he found some things up there. He found coins.
Now, this picture was obviously taken after they got rid of the steam engine, because you can see those poles, the catenary poles for the wires for the electric trolleys. And
there is the, what a lot of people later called the Tower Hotel, really Schwartz's Summit House Hotel. Torn down in October of 1959. I was there with my Kodak camera when they were tearing that down, so I do have color slides of that.
Was that the one shortly you used for a while for TV station? Or am I thinking of some of the building up there?
Yeah, you're right. That I had, the 828 was an oversized 35 millimeter format. They haven't made that film probably for 35, 40 years. It's been out of production. But there was a park there. There was a little, when I say a park, they had a couple of picnic benches and a fireplace. And if you go back that area today, you find nothing. But there was a park there, and it shows it on the old maps. There we have it again. What did you call that tracking?
It's called the rail on the inside of the curve on the right-hand side of the picture there. That double rail, it's called a guard rail or a shank rail. That way, in case the car derails, there's nothing on the left-hand side of the photograph preventing the car from going over the side of the hill. So even on mainline railroads, certain mainline railroads, when they have a really sharp curve like that way, in case the wheels derail, there's some chance of still holding the car upright, especially on a nasty turn with a steep drop off to the side like that.
So they still do that?
They still do that on certain railroads. Not a lot, but certain railroads.
Now it's interesting, the cars went down and around by gravity about 5.5 miles. It was actually about a 7-mile track, although it varied from time to time because they would add things and they would do things, but essentially it was around a 7-mile track. On the way down, sort of above Friedensburg Road, there wasn't a whole lot of an incline, and sometimes it used to stick around. There was a Keydish truck farm back there on the side facing Penn side, and guys would have to get off, and they'd all give a heave-ho to get the cars going again, and then it would continue. But there was a problem at that one place back there because there just wasn't enough of an incline to keep the cars moving smoothly.
There was a railway in Wales and England, before they started using steam engines, they carried slate, and they would load the trains of loaded slate, and they would run down the hill, and when they got to the bottom, they would be offloaded into ships, and horses would pull the empty cars back up the hill, sort of similar gravity arrangement.
Huh. Okay, we're up. This would be between the tower. The tower would be behind the camera taker's, the picture taker's back. And we're looking over to Schwartz's Summit House Hotel. So in other words, my back would be facing northward, and the camera is pointing southward over towards Neversink. That was a concession stand that used to be up there at one time. I had a dear friend, Albert Green, who lived at 940 Fairview Street in Mount Penn, who as a boy used to sell blackjack chewing gum there. And he was proud of all the blackjack chewing gum that he used to sell. They also sold orange chewing gum at that stand. I don't know how long that was there. Now it appears on a couple of postcards, but there aren't a whole lot of pictures that show that concession stand. So that would have been situated between the tower and the hotel itself. Now, that's more or less gone. Now, let me get my thoughts. It's been a while since I dealt with that. That was at Spooler's.
Is that trolley rail on the left?
Spooler's Hotel lay off to the right. And I'm sure a lot of home viewers might remember Spooler's Hotel. Now, let me think. What was her name? A woman lived there, it'll come to me, who had a whole lot of dogs. And they would come out the second floor window and stand on the porch roof and bark at people at nighttime. How many dogs, wait a minute, how many dogs did she have? I don't know, but there were probably 40 or 50. I used to wonder when I would see her at Turkey Hill in St. Lawrence buying dog food, and I would see her wearing boots in the dry part of the summer, and she would buy these enormous bags of dog food, and the fellows used to put them in her trunk. Anyhow, she married a Spooler, but she was a school teacher down in Stony Creek. And the Gravity Railroad came right up here on the left. Mm-hmm. Now, they tore the hotel down Oh, after her death, because it became structurally compromised because of the inhabitants.
What happened to all the dogs?
Yes, the dogs.
You know what happened to all of them?
Gee, I don't know, but I know what they all did. Anyhow, there we see part of the track on the left-hand side. So after her death...
You can see the sign there, too.
Yeah, the sign was there. They specialized in chicken and waffles. That was a big deal. You can see that the old gas light there on the outside.
Whole row of them right there.
Good heavens, that was torn away. I just see a little note here. Torn away in 1977. I can't believe it's that long ago. 87, 97, 31 years ago. Wow. So it's gone for 31 years. It just came to me. Evelyn Haig was the woman who lived there, who had been a school teacher, and she was the last one to survive at that place. Her husband had passed away. But that was a very lively hotel at one time, a wine house. As a matter of fact, across the street, what's that road? The road had two names. I think in the maps today, is it called Hague Road or is it Spooler Road? It might be Hague Road today. When you go up Hill Road, you turn left right above the, sort of above Stokesy in that general area, and you go back on either Hague Road. Maps show either Hague or Spooler Road. You go back there, and about a block and a half back would be this hotel. You would be coming in from the left side of the screen, and the hotel was on the right. Across that street was an old barn, and beside the barn was a wine press. And they used to make wine up there. It was one of the wine houses along the Gravity Railroad route. There were quite a number. Now, I do have a picture of that. I'm not sure whether it's in this pack or not, but I do have pictures of spoolers. Aha! Can you believe it? That's a picture I was looking for. That shows isn't that wonderful?
Perfect planning, George.
Isn't that wonderful? Yeah, great planning. That's that building at New Schaeferstown in Summer Hill that had thatching on it. As a matter of fact, there were two views of that taken from a slightly different angle. Does that look like log to you, Joshua?
Like what?
Log.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
There's still some thatching left on the roof?
Yeah, log and thatched.
Huh?
That's a very, very rare view. That was taken by W.W. Dietrich from Kutztown. Oh, good. Had I only known that was in this pack. But anyhow, roof needs a little work. But can you imagine thatching something as large as a barn?
It's a small structure, too.
That's a small structure, yeah. But that's the one. I went looking for that with a friend about 15 years ago. It was gone, but I know exactly where it sat. There were some other outbuildings on that property, one of which does survive. It would be very near, it would be on, let me think, like on the south side of, off the south side of New Schaeferstown. There's a farm that sits back in there off the main street. So there it is, that thatched building at New Schaeferstown. Oh, yes. There we have, do you want to tell the folks what kind of a tower that is, Joshua?
That's not a windmill without its fan blades. That is that old signal tower that the Reading Railroad used to use. There used to be a gentleman there. You can actually just see him in the doorway there, I guess, looks like.
Mr. Wenzel.
Mr. Wenzel, okay. And the object at the very top would be rotated. I'm not quite sure exactly if it was colored or how exactly. A lot of them were white, large white boards, I believe. The major junctions along the railroad, or where you need a line of sight at a switcher or something like that, they added a signal tower like this, and these were very unique to the Reading Company system. And there's a, right on the right-hand side, there's the convenience for the gentleman in the doorway, probably. That's.
I think if I were up there. Anyhow, yes, that was a convenience.
Yeah, dollars.
You know what that was? That was right near Bully Lions. People watching the program, I'm sure, remember Bully Lions. Back there at Neversink, It used to be the village of Neversink. There was a two-room schoolhouse built back at Neversink, and that became that Bully Lions Hotel back at Neversink Village. There was a nasty fire there, and the old, let's see, was it called Artist Casino at the time that when it caught fire, or was it Bully Lions? It had two names over the course of time. It changed hands. Anyhow, there was a nasty fire. They tore it down. There's a modern house that sits on that site today. You can still see, when you go across the bypass, if you know where to look in the dead of winter, you can still see the foundation of that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I always was amused at the kindness and the benevolence of the railroad company. If a person were maimed in the line of duty, they gave them a cushy job. And I remember talking to a fellow over in Shillington who said his dad got one of those cushy jobs. His dad could hardly walk, and it took him a half hour to climb up there to report to work. So I imagine we ought to use that. Anyhow, it took him a long time to get up to that thing. And now, he also said that there was an Edison cobalt battery that supposedly never wore out in the base of that thing. I wonder why that Edison cobalt battery would have been in there. All of those had an Edison cobalt battery. Did you have any idea why?
No idea. Ben might be the one, or somebody.
Ben might know something about that, because he wants to build one of those, I think.
Yes, he does, in his backyard.
In his backyard. Bless
He's got
his
the
heart.
plans for it, too.
Anything else to tell about that thing? Oh, you know what? There was one close by, right in the city of Reading. They had
They're
one.
right at Center Avenue there.
At Center Avenue, right next to B.J. Wagner, her real estate place at the bridge, between what, 4th and 5th? Between 4th and 5th, right on the south side of B.J. Wagner's real estate office. It was one of those. I had a picture of that, I think, in one of the Passing Scene books.
Yep, you do.
Very, very rare view. We're at West Reading, looking across the Penn Street Bridge over towards Mount Penn. Notice in the background Trinity Lutheran Church, the courthouse, and Girls High School.
And there's no pagoda.
No pagoda.
And no pagoda.
Was this the bridge that was carried down the river? Or was that another bridge?
This was the one that survived and was torn down, and they saved every piece of wood and every nail in 1884. That was rebuilt in 1851. The Great Freshet of 1850 took away the bridge that preceded that. And notice that was a two-lane bridge, as was the one at the Bingham Street Bridge or the Lancaster Bridge. There you can see it. They used to have highwaymen hiding up there at night. And they would jump down and rob the people and run the opposite direction, and there was nobody that could catch them until they got through the bridge and turned the vehicle around to try to go back the other way. There were some guys who were hanging in the Lancaster Avenue Bridge for quite a while, and I don't think they ever actually nailed them. But that was... Now, you know that when they built the Steel Truss Bridge, they used those same... Yeah, the same pillars. On the other side is Dr. Benson's steam grist mill, what had been Dr. Benson's steam grist mill, and then that was later a hotel right along the canal. Do you see the Schuylkill Canal on the Reading side? We're looking into Reading. We're looking eastward. Can you imagine what happened during times of flood?
I've seen a couple great pictures that show the water up to the first floor, if not the second floor.
Well, that was the flood of 1869. That was nasty. A freshet was a flood that really came sneaking up on you before you had a chance to really react, and that's why many people during a time of freshet, they find themselves trapped and they die, like the houses being, some of the frame homes that used to sit along the river being washed down. And well, that one flood we had in 1850, it knocked the bridge off the abutments at Port Clinton and went down, knocked the bridge off the abutments at Hamburg, Shoemakersville, Leesport, all the way down the line.
What was the story? It's the one I love, and I'm surprised I don't remember it. One of the bridges in Reading was knocked off, went down the river to Monocacy. One-third,
the Reading one-third of the Lancaster Avenue Bridge in the flood of 1869 was knocked away. It floated down the Schuylkill River. They got on the telegraph. The railroaders, there was a telegraph line along here, telegraphed the people at Douglasville. Part of a bridge is coming, so they got grappling hooks and all kinds of things, and they went out and they snagged the bridge, and they got a free bridge down at Douglasville, which is why everybody wanted to know why in the world did they have a two-lane bridge did they build a 2-lane bridge at Douglasville? And the answer is they didn't. They fished it out of the Schuylkill.
I want to know if they ever exchanged money over that, because it's basically a prefab bridge.
Yeah, it really was, yeah. Yours for the grabbing.
I love that story.
But isn't that a neat picture? That was a glass stereopticon view that I copied a long time back. Thanks to Paul Miller, I believe, of Montello, formerly of Montello. Oops. Oh, okay, we're okay. There is the entranceway on the West Reading side. By the way, people oftentimes ask, well, why that unusual turn in the bridge? And the answer was Linebox Hill, or earlier Yeager's Hill, was here on the left. And it was a huge mound of rock. Now, as time went by, they mined that, or they quarried that away. But at the time that the bridge was built, that huge mound of stone was still there, and they sort of skirted it, which is why it wound up like that. By the way, Linebox Hill at one time actually extended into the Schuylkill. They quarried a whole lot of that away for ballast for the ill-fated South Mountain Railroad. That's the earliest good view that I know of the Penn Street Bridge. You know that the Penn Street Bridge was at a lower level, of course, than the Penn Street Viaduct of today.
Certainly, as they built up the town over the years.
Yeah. Because that went right down to the water's edge on the other side, while by the Penn Street Viaduct today goes up to 2nd and Penn.
And there were buildings all along the bridge there
absolutely.
At the water level.
There were buildings all along the bridge. Well, what happened was this became structurally compromised. Well, what happened was the Penns ran the railroad through about in '84. And they couldn't be running a railroad beneath a covered bridge. So they replaced it with an iron truss bridge, because iron would be perpetually impervious to contamination or corroding from railroad smoke.
What happened?
And what happened? Well, that didn't quite work. The iron bridge was structurally compromised, so that people had to get off, walk across the Penn Street Bridge. They would run the trolley car over empty. They'd get on in West Reading and then travel westward.
Some railroads actually did use covered bridges, believe it or not.
Oh, yeah, what's that?
Some railroads
Oh,
did
sure.
actually use covered
Well, there was a covered bridge for the train at Pine Forge. There was one there at Orchard near Leesport.
Didn't last long, as you might imagine.
Not terrible. Well, actually, that one was torn away about in the 20s. Okay, Dr. Benson's. Let's take a little recess and move on to something else. Remember, we were at Dr. Benson's steam grist mill for next time.
Okay, our guest this evening, as George mentioned before, is Amy Bolt Johnson. She's the City of Reading's Historical Preservation Specialist, and she stopped by to provide information on an upcoming contest of sorts. We'll let Amy tell you all about it. Amy?
Thank you, Josh.
You're welcome.
Yes, we are once again, for the 3rd year in a row, holding the Beautiful Buildings of Downtown contest. And the purpose of the contest is to acknowledge property owners in the downtown whose buildings have an exemplary positive impact on their neighborhoods. The contest is running from this point on until August 13th. That's the deadline for entries. And if I could have the map, I can show you the boundaries. The boundaries, geographic boundary area for the contest is generally from the Schuylkill River to City Park, Schuylkill River on the western side to City Park, and from Elm Street on the north to Chestnut Street at the south, and then pretty much running all the way along Penn Street to City Park, or Penn's Common, and it includes all of the Callow Hill Historic District that is shown in blue, and all of the Penn's Common Historic District, which is shown in orange on the map. There are 4 categories for the contest. They are private residence, commercial, business, or apartment building with 5 or more units, and a public building or institution, and the 4th category, which is an honorable mention, is most improved building. The prizes are, for categories 1 through 3, they receive a custom-designed brass plaque designed by Crescent Brass and a gift certificate from Home Depot for $25 and a Lowe's gift certificate for $50. Category 4, the honorable mention winner will receive a $50 gift certificate to Hong Thon Restaurant.
And that brass plaque is beautiful.
Yes.
Very handsome.
They've
really
done
a beauty.
Beautiful job.
It really is.
We owe them a lot for that. They designed a beautiful piece. Nomination forms can be obtained in City Hall in the Mayor's office or in my office in the Planning office, which is room 3-03 on the 3rd floor. Any midday cafe, the DID office at 645 Penn Street, and the Reading Public Library at 100 South 5th Street. And you can also get it online at www.downtownreading.com.
I think we'll have some at the Historical Society, too.
Oh, great.
We did last year.
Great, great. Yes,
Xerox some.
Totally.
we encourage people to vote for your favorite building, and we ask that you just vote once or cast one vote per person. Ballots can be dropped off at any midday cafe or mailed or delivered to the DID office, again at 645 Penn Street on the 2nd floor. Some of the committee members and judges include the prestigious George Miser, the Honorable Thomas McMahon, our mayor, Doug Kramer, who is principal with Synergetics Architects, myself, the Historic Preservation Specialist for the City of Reading, John Hill, who is principal for Muhlenberg Green Architects Limited, Lori Swan, who is the acting executive director for the Reading DID, and Deborah Miller, who is events director for the Reading DID. The awards ceremony for the contest will be held at 12:15 p.m. on Wednesday, September 3rd at the Rock, Roll, and the Reading Public Library Midday Cafe in Courtyard 1 at 6th and Penn Streets behind the Sovereign Bank building. And I'd like to give a special thanks to our generous sponsors this year, who include McCarthy Engineering, Crescent Brass, the law firm of Mogul, Spidell, Bob and Kirshner, Muhlenberg Green Architects Limited, and the City of Reading. And just to list last year's winners, for private residence was 204 North 5th Street. For the commercial business, it was the Senior Apartments at the Wyomissing Club at 501 Walnut Street. For the public building or institution, it was Trinity Lutheran Church at 527 Walnut Street. And the most improved building was the Goggle Works Center for the Arts.
Great. Thank you very much, Amy.
I'm just thinking, again, the contest ends when, Amy?
August 13th.
August
All the
13th.
ballots must be in by August 13th.
I'm thinking maybe we could have a return. Would it be possible to have a return visit maybe in July and bring us some pictures with us?
Sure,
Why
sure.
don't we do that?
Yes.
Like the people who won last year.
Sure.
Do you want to mention, or am I jumping the gun, that amazing bit of work going on Walnut Street between 5th and 6th?
Yes, there is a row of buildings. It's part of a row of buildings that actually have copper bays. They pretty much are all intact architecturally. And one of the owners is, and I can't remember the exact address, forgive me, but he is using the city's facade improvement program to restore the front. And he's also rehabilitating the entire interior of the building for offices. But he is using the facade improvement grant program to restore the front facade.
In my lifetime, I've never seen anyone go to that length to restore a copper
Yes, yes.
architectural form such as that. If you go up Walnut Street between 5th and 6th on the south side and the right-hand side going up, do look about the middle of the block. You will be astounded. I did a double take twice. When I was driving up Walnut Street, I just couldn't believe that they were going to that extent to restore that building, and thank goodness they are. It'll be one of the great buildings of Reading.
And he's cleaned the front facade too, and you can really see that pink stone.
Oh,
it's got
I
a pink hue to it. It's beautiful.
That's
yeah.
in Walnut between 5th and 6th on the south side. Really stunning.
Yes.
We thank you, Amy.
You're very welcome.
Maybe should we plan on that for maybe July?
That would be wonderful.
Bring
sure.
some pictures along, get people, because they'll still have until Well, even after our program in August,
Sure,
it'll still
sure.
be going on.
I can bring photographs from both years.
Let's do that.
Okay.
Get people interested because it's a wonderful project, and I applaud those people who are behind this project. What are they saying?
We have a home viewer.
Yes, home viewer, you're on.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Hiya.
Hi, I just had a question. I want to know, I live in a historical building on Fairview Street.
Yes.
And I want to know how I can get information on it.
On Fairview Street. What about what house number?
2200 block.
2200 block.
That would be
Yeah,
Mount Penn.
Yeah, 23rd, it would be Mount Penn, 22nd.
That's Mount Penn there.
Yeah. Which, is it that house on, as you would head towards Mount Penn or heading down towards McDonald's and Mount Penn, would it be on the left-hand side?
It's on Fairview and 23rd. It's an old hotel. It's an
Oh,
apartment.
yes. The Fairview Hotel.
Yeah.
Okay, the Fairview Hotel, built sometime around 1891.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, the trolley used to stop there. As a matter of fact, the substation for the trolley is right across the street.
Yes.
That is a fine building. Someone just called me about that last week. It just came back to me now. There are some old pictures of that at the Historical Society, and in the passing scene, there's a picture of an old picture in one of the passing scene issues. I'm not sure which one anymore, but there are a couple of old-time photographs of that. There used to be a television repair place in the first floor.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Mm-hmm. Come to the society sometime, and we'll try to see what we can find for you. There's not a whole lot on that. That came along. It was considered one of the Neversink mountain resorts, but it was at the foot of Neversink rather than on Neversink itself. But it was right along the trolley line.
Yes.
So that, and there are some maps that show that with the trolley line running by. You know, at the old trolley there was an old trolley that ran down Fairview Street and terminated in a neat little frame building, which would be right about behind the Mount Penn Family Restaurant. And there was a flight of steps there with like 125 steps going down, and the idea of stopping there was you would go down all of those steps. If you see a picture of those steps, you think to yourself, good heavens, if you'd stumble. And people would get off there, walk across the Philadelphia Pike to visit the old Black Bear Hotel, which was right across the street. European Motors about occupies that site of the old Black Bear Hotel. Can you picture that European Motors there along 422? It's near the Hess gas station.
Oh, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Come and see us sometime. We'll investigate.
Okay, thank you.
We thank you.
I believe we have another one, George.
Yes, home viewer. You're on, home viewer.
Hi, I have a question about Reber's Bridge, or the Rebers. It was a John Reber. They have that white mansion near Reber's Bridge.
The one that was torn down for the Blue Marsh Dam project.
Yeah, but there's a big house there that he owned.
Yeah, that was back in the proximity of what they called the Palisades years ago.
Right. Wasn't he a big advertising guy in Hollywood?
Now, I don't know a thing about that. If you know about that, I would be interested in learning more, or at least a lead to check into that. That's totally unfamiliar to me. Reber's Bridge was gone for a long, long time. There was a Reber's Mill beside that bridge. I'm thinking, I haven't looked at that for years. Did Plum Creek come in there someplace? Did it join the Tulpehockon somewhere in that proximity?
I'm not really sure. It's right where you go over the graded bridge.
Yeah, right.
And that big farm there, supposedly his great-grandfather, they owned thousands of acres
There were a lot of reapers back in that general area along the
Right.
Union Canal. As a matter of fact, that farmhouse at Grings Mill near Red Bridge, that was a reaper home too. I'm picturing at least 4 reaper homes that were in that area, and
Yeah,
they were all.
there's one on where is it? Paper Mill.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I've heard that like the son killed himself, and the wife took the baby into a garage and asphyxiated both of them.
Oh my.
I mean, it was a really big thing already, from what I understood.
Yeah, Reber's Bridge was a wooden covered bridge. I'm thinking, did that burn? It's been going a long, long time. There were actually, I could only picture one good picture of Reber's Bridge because it was gone for such a long time. The old wooden bridge.
Well, I have a whole bunch of stuff, information on them that I got in a box lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's really interesting.
Call the society sometime, and why don't you come in sometime with some of those things and we'll go over them.
I would love to. That'd be great.
Call the society and ask for Gloria.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We thank you. Appreciate
Okay.
your interest.
Bye-bye.
Joshua?
Yeah, I got a few things here. Sort of similar story for last time, but we'll do what we can here, make the best of it. Right on the floor here, if you can get a good view of that, it's a neat little photograph we found. We have the ongoing Rarity exhibit right now, and the exhibit goes on until January 10th, 2009. And we just found this photo here in our attic, actually just this morning. The photo is actually level. Maybe you can get a little better of a picture.
They're ready to slide off the picture.
This is a...
That's at the Quaker Meeting House, isn't it?
I don't know. I was waiting.
That's what it looks like.
That's at the Quaker Meeting House, built in 1868.
This is probably a little hard to see there, so I have a little piece of paper telling me what's going on there. Reading Company workers in Community Chest Campaign,
Yep.
Reading, Pennsylvania, 1926. Also in the bottom left corner is a photograph by Steele's Picture Service of Reading, Pennsylvania. So this is a wonderful photograph. The frame looks very dirty. The glass itself was much dirtier, but I cleaned it off just before we came down this evening. And it's a wonderful photograph. This isn't part of our rarity exhibit right now, but it's just another example of the wonderful archives we have at the Historical Society.
And we're finding things all the time.
Yes, we are. I just did a little calculation before I came here. If I brought 6 objects from the museum collection every show for 12 months a year, it would take me more than 300 years to bring them all down. So
That's longer than I've been on.
Not by much. Pardon me. We've got a lot of nice selection of archives in our collection and objects in our collection. Let's see if we can show you another thing.
By the way, for the benefit of the home viewers,
Sure.
that was taken at the Quaker Meeting House between Trinity Lutheran Church and the Sovereign Performing Arts Center, formerly the Raja Theater. And that's where that picture was taken.
Okay. If we can have a little close-up of this article right here in the plastic box, it's a little reflective. Hopefully we can see if we can get a good shot of it somehow. This is with every exhibit we have in our recent exhibits.
Oh,
there we go.
Neat.
Every recent exhibit we've had, we have a trivia contest. If you enter a piece of paper with your name, address, and guess, we have a contest. Last year for the beer and pretzels, we had an award of a tin of chocolate-covered pretzels and also a print from Reading Brewery. But this year's prize for the rarity exhibit, we asked a question, how many passenger trains do you think the Reading Railroad operated on one single day in 1957? And the correct winner, which we'll announce after the exhibit closes in January of 2009, wins this, it's HO scale, which means that 1 feet of actual measurement represents 87 scale feet. It's a popular model train scale, but the Katy Quality Products Company on Oregon State donated 2 of these for the rarity exhibit. The first one we raffled off for our opening program in April, but the second one here is going to be our raffle prize. It's a very high quality scale, accurate scale model of a Reading coal car, and you can see it even comes with its own little coal load on top. Maybe you can
That's
tilt
beauty.
it.
That's a
It's a little hard. There you go. You can see the little molded coal, right? But it's a very nice scale model, and we'd like to thank the Katy Quality
What's the
Products.
question again, Joshua?
How many trains do you think the Reading Railroad operated on one single day in 1957? Now you got to keep in mind that that's almost at just about or just over the zenith of passenger travel after the surge of World War II, but also when we had a lot of commuters coming in and out of Philadelphia, which the Reading Company moved a lot. But of course, all the little branches that they would have had passenger service still not at that point. And in connection with our exhibit, we have a wonderful fundraiser coming up in a few weeks, just a few weeks away now. It seems time is going very fast, but it's June 28th at the Five Springs Farm in Yellow House, Pennsylvania. We mentioned it last time. The response has been wonderful. We have 178 seats booked. There's only 73 seats available. Tickets are $100, but the proceeds benefit our youth and educational programs, and it's going to be a wonderful party celebrating the 175th anniversary of the Reading Railroad. And we'd like to thank our Trainmaster sponsor, Penske Trunk Leasing, and also our engineer sponsors, FM Brown, Riverfront Credit Union, Fulton Bank, the Highlands of Wyomissing, M&T Bank, Vist Financial, Phoebe Burke's Village, Weidenhammer, Richard Levigood Architects, William J. Cook Associates, and the auxiliary of the Historical Society of Berks County. Our musical entertainment that evening will be the Norfolk Southern Lawman. Norfolk Southern Railroad is the sponsor for our major sponsor for our exhibit. They operate most of the track through the area today, the former Reading Company. But they have a band called the Norfolk Southern Lawman Country Band, and they have appeared on national television at the Grand Ole Opry, the Smithsonian Institution, and at the Jimmy Rogers Memorial Foundation in Meridian, Mississippi, along with some today's country's top stars, including Willie Nelson, Tanya Tucker, Ricky Skaggs, Colin Ray, Billy Joe Royal, and T. Graham Brown. But they've been around for 57 years, and they've been a very popular band.
Now, that fundraiser is going to be held at a beautiful farm at the Five Springs Farm.
Five Springs Farm was featured on last year's 3 Centuries tour.
Walking distance from the Yellow House Hotel, heading southward on the Pike into Douglasville.
We're going to have an ox roast. It's going to be a wonderful night of music.
Big tent, lots of good food. It's both an ox roast and a pig roast.
Ox roast and a pig roast, and there's only 73 seats left, so please call Gloria, get your reservations in soon.
It's been ages since I had an ox sandwich. Okay. I guess that's about it, isn't it? Well, we thank you for spending the past 55 minutes with the Historical Society of Berks County. Be aware this program repeats this coming Friday at 10, Saturday at 6, and Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Tell your friends about our program, which is on live the first Wednesday of each month at 7 o'clock. Thanks to program participants Joshua Blay.
Thank you, George.
And the delightful Amy Walt Johnson.
Thank you, George.
I'm your host, George M. Miser IX. We look for you Saturday morning, 9:30 at the Historical Society for the first Saturday program, first Saturday program for this season. Goodbye.